Stay tuned for the Splash Live. It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the Greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome, friends and neighbors. I'm Tyler Kieft. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow night, the West Bloomfield Lakers look to do something that they haven't done since 2022, begin the regular season with a 4-0 record. They will head to northern Oakland County to face Lake Orion, looking to continue their early season dominance against the Dragons after allowing just 6 points total in the first 3 weeks of football, all at home. But despite the Dragons' rocky 0-3 start in northern Oakland County, Coach Hilbers told me in our conversation this week about Lake Orion that is not a team to underestimate.
Well, I definitely don't think they're an 0-3 team. I know it's like a results-driven world in business, and obviously football is, there's a winner and a loser, but, they lost by 1, they lost by 2, and they lost a really back-and-forth game with Stony Creek, I think by 8 or 9 points. So 2 literal nail-biters and one that really was a battle the entire time. So they've really pushed their opponents every single game, and we expect them to do the same to us.
And it says something about an opponent, too, where they've had that close of matchups.
Yeah.
Their head coach, their coaching staff, their fan base would admit they haven't played their best football through these first 3 weeks, but they've also done that with a lot of injuries to some of their key players, too. They're a really tough team coming into this week. How do you keep your team focused and not taking their foot off the gas going into this matchup where you're undefeated and they're yet to pick up their first dub?
Well, you got to lean on the experience of some of the seniors that have been up there and lost a really close game 2 years ago. And then obviously had a different kind of barn burner here last year in a high-scoring type of shootout game. So the last 2 years against them has been totally different styles. We lost one, we won one. We know the challenges it is to go up there. They got a great home atmosphere, a great crowd and everything. So I don't know, I'm going to lean on them for a little bit of it, but also, everyone was pretty excited on a high note after last Friday, and if you want to keep it going, it can't be a 1 week thing. We got to do it every single week.
Jeremiah brought it up in the post-game scrum, as did Coach Wheeler, bringing up about this team really needs to do their best to stay humble going into this next week against Lake Orion, the stretch of this season. You want to build that confidence, especially on the younger side of the team with the offense, some of the up-and-coming players across all 3 phases. How do you, as a head coach and your coaching staff, find that careful balance between building the confidence, fostering that confidence, and keeping the team level-headed in a really tough schedule like you have this season?
Well, I guess the balance kind of lies when you dive into the film and kind of review it with the kids. You can point out the things that we did really, really well, the adversity we responded to, and then obviously there's always going to be mistakes. So you kind of show them that, you can make a mistake and get away with it sometimes in this game, and you can make mistakes and you can get really burned. So ideally, you make a mistake and get away from it so you can learn from it going forward, but it doesn't always work that way. So it's finding moments like that are teachable moments, I guess, on both sides of the fence to try to, encourage them that, they're getting better and their hard work's paid off, but they haven't arrived yet, and we have to really finish the job.
Yeah, it's only 3 weeks into the season, 3 impressive wins, all in their own different way, but you're going to need some element of that every single week, especially when you're playing in the OAA Red, and you still have some other cross-division teams in the OAA coming up on your schedule throughout the stretch of this year. Coach Hilber's with me on This Week in Laker Football. West Bloomfield headed to Lake Orion on Friday, 7 p.m. kickoff. It's only going to be on the NFHS network through Lake Orion's local TV station. We'll have a link for you on civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. Coach, this has been a really high momentum season for the Lakers so far. And as they go into week 4 against Lake Orion, you look kind of back on last year, some of those close games, like Lake Orion, like Rochester Adams, even in the early portions of the Birmingham Groves game. And you said it earlier on the season, a lot of those were games that could have gone in your win column last year and easily could have had you being a 1 or 2 loss team. How does that contextualize the importance of staying focused, having really good weeks of practice like you've had recently, including last week, as you said after the game, to make sure you're playing your best 48 minutes every week?
Well, I think you can kind of draw comparisons. They're different. They're a different team, but to like them this year, Lake Orion, that is, and us last year, where we lost a lot of close games, they've lost 3 really close games. Of our 6 losses last year, we had the lead in 5 of them. A lot of them in the second half. We just didn't get the job done. So I guess kind of with that analogy is we lost our fair share of close games. We also won a couple too. So just because they've lost 3 close games doesn't mean they can't sprout up and win one if they do things right and we don't take our job seriously.
The Lakers currently in the lead in the OAA Red Division, tied at 1-0 in division play with Clarkston, the only undefeated team remaining in the OAA Red overall. Clarkston with a close loss a couple of weeks ago. Coach, as you get into this part of the season, now that it is a 2-horse race at the top of the Red, with a couple of losses for each team collectively below yourself and Clarkston, how does that also play a role in it? Because one of those first check marks you have throughout your season is win your league.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a goal, and it's still alive, but, it's probably alive for all the teams in our league. There's so much parity. Like last year, it was really close to a 4-way tie, if that tells you anything. So you just got to take it week by week. I'll definitely feel a lot better if we're able to get this one this week and go 2-0 in the league. But even still, we'll still have 2 really challenging games after that. So we'll just take it 1 week at a time.
You want to see your team take a step forward every single week. Seems like that's consistently been happening from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3. What are you looking for your team to do this week to take that next step forward in their 48 minutes on the road in Lake Orion? Yeah,
there's always going to be stuff to improve on. Ideally, like you said, you do a little bit better each week, and I don't know if that's realistic to constantly improve. Usually it's non-linear, but you'll get better, have a little dip, and as long as you rebound and get back to where it is. But if we can do it, that's great. I guess in particular, if the head coach stopped calling stupid fake punts in the third quarter, backed up, then maybe we do be a little bit easier. But they really responded well to that, I thought, and we're able to flip the field position back on Rochester Adams. So if we can just play a little bit more mistake-free than the week before, we'll be all right.
More information on West Bloomfield Laker football all throughout the season, including where to watch the Lakers this week as they take on Lake Orion. Of course, our team not going to be on the broadcast again this week, as Lake Orion will have their own specific and exclusive broadcast on the NFHS network. We'll have details on where to find that on our website, civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. Now is your chance to learn and to be heard. The demolition process is set to begin soon at Roosevelt Elementary School in Keagle Harbor as Michigan's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, otherwise known as EGLE, has received notice from the West Bloomfield School District or their contractors of intent to demolish, quote, asbestos-containing materials, end quote, in the over 100-year-old former school building on Cass Lake Road. EGLE will be hosting an informational session via Zoom 1 week from tonight on Thursday, September 25th at 6 p.m. That is open to the public. Registration is required in order for you to attend that virtual ceremony. We have a QR code up on your screen as we speak. You scan that QR code, that will direct you to a website with more information on the abatement process, as well as that link to register for the informational session Thursday, September 25th, not this Thursday, next Thursday at 6 p.m. Bottom right side of that screen, after you scan through this QR code, will get you all of that information. The meeting is open to the public per EGLE's webpage on michigan.gov. The purpose of this informational meeting is, quote, to provide information and answer questions from the public, end quote. The asbestos removal process is regulated by Eagle under standards established in the National Emission Standards for Hazardous and Pollutants, or NESHAP program for asbestos, a federal program implemented by the Environmental Protection Agency, otherwise known as the EPA. Once again, for more information, visit michigan.gov/eagle. That's michigan.gov/EGLE to learn more about this process and to find information on this and potentially other informational sessions virtually and in person in the near future. Local businesses are always looking for the next great innovation to catapult their companies to the next level. And in 2025, if you don't know your brand, your customers probably won't love your brand themselves. One local marketing expert is here to help, as she is also going to be providing some information on helping you solidify your brand and market that to your target audience. She is an alum of Oakland County's 40 Under 40 and the owner of Blended Collective. Lydia Michael joins me now on The Splash Live. Lydia, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on as you are about to embark on this endeavor with business owners in the local area. You're going to be putting on a seminar, Brand Love in Action, How Emotion Wins Hearts and Builds Loyalty. Give us a little bit of an overview of what you'll be presenting to local business owners or others in business looking to improve their marketing skills in particular.
Yes, so it's really more so meant to be an interactive, engaging session for business owners here locally to help them understand how to engage their customer base, not just from a rational and functional basis, but especially from an emotional perspective, right? And this is what brand love is all about. It's about creating this deep emotional bond where your customers and the people you connect with truly feel connected to your organization and to your brand, not just because of what you're selling and the transactions, but more so because of what it makes them feel and what it represents in their lives.
So it's a stronger emotion sort of in those ties than brand loyalty. It's taking that to the next level. So Lydia, as these business owners or these others in business that are looking to improve their skills and make that brand love something that their customers do engage in, why is brand love so much stronger than the simplicity of brand loyalty?
So brand love actually leads to brand loyalty and advocacy. So it's sort of this journey that you're embarking on as an organization where you're leading your customers to be loyal and to be advocates or brand ambassadors of your company. So, today we're in a very crowded marketplace. Products and services can be copied, but it's really, really difficult to copy emotional connections, right? And so when customers can genuinely love a brand, they become advocates, they forgive mistakes, and they stay loyal even when a competitor comes and knocks on their door. And that's the kind of relationship that every organization and brand should strive for.
And so as you have this discussion, you kind of go over two different points that you're going to be exploring that drive that brand love. There are two drivers you describe, emotional and rational drivers. What are the differences between the two, and how do they connect into creating that brand love?
So the emotional and the rational is sort of like the yin and the yang, right? It's sort of the warm and the cold. It's the emotional and the rational in marketing. And the rational side, which again is the functional side, features things like the price, the quality, the convenience, the differentiation. All of those things are the foundation, and that's what helps earn a customer's head, if you will. Now, the emotional drivers are things like intimacy, belonging, trust. Those are the things that capture the heart. And having both is really crucial because a brand is not going to succeed with just focusing on one or the other. When you focus on just the rational and the functional side, you might be respected, but you're rarely liked or loved. But when you focus on the emotional side, you risk losing credibility. So balancing both is really important to make sure that you're building a foundation of desire and affection that then translates to that long-term loyalty.
Lydia Michael is with us from Blended Collective on the Splash Live, talking about brand love, hoping to drive customers into truly having a love for products and for these companies in our local area that are providing either items, services, or both from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. And Lydia, as we talk about this term of brand love, I'd imagine it's even more important for companies that are working specifically in that small business sector on the local level, most of their customers ideally being those in their local area, and then as they conquer that market space, they then move on to others. So how important is that brand love on the local level, especially for our small businesses?
So important. So I actually talk about this quite a bit in the book, and I'm going to include some of those elements in the workshop, but this is my book, Brand Love, here that I published a couple of years ago, and that's sort of as the basis of where this workshop comes from and a lot of the work that we do at Blended Collective. And so when we take a look at the local environment, your small business, local small business here in West Bloomfield or in the area, they very much focus on the loyalty and the retention and sort of that repeat customer, right? That is connected with them, again, beyond that transaction, beyond just what they need in the moment, but really creating that connection locally here on a practical level. So my goal is to leave the businesses with small tangible steps that they can incorporate and understand how can I build trust, how can I include more of the connection elements in my messaging, and how can I strengthen consistency across the touch points. So this is really something that's not just important for global organizations, but on a local level, I believe it's even more so important because it's all about our community, right? That's who supports us day in and day out.
And so your book, Brand Love, goes through all these different concepts. It goes through the basics. It's a lot of that information that people can come into this particular seminar with to learn more and to get more of the finer details from you and from these discussions. But as you mentioned earlier on, it's going to be more of an interactive discussion than it is a lecture on this concept of brand love. For you personally and for these business owners, why is that dialogue an important element of teaching this concept to our local business owners?
A big part of it is the work itself that I talk about, the emotional connection. It's not just about the transaction, it's about feeling something. And so when I'm hosting this workshop, I want to make sure that I embody the spirit of what this topic and this concept teaches. And so for that reason, it's important that we're not just talking about those things and it's not just a lecture per se, but it's more so an interactive session where businesses can come in and actually work on some of those elements that I'm teaching live in the workshop and really walk away with not just new action items and a little bit of homework, but also understand how can I implement or incorporate some of those principles in my day-to-day business? What does that look like in my industry and in my business?
So from my notes from our producer, Jake, who booked you on the show for today, you had mentioned that to him that Blended Collective is currently undergoing its own rebranding. So as you're going through that process and you're teaching some of this branding material to other small business owners here in our local area, how are you incorporating some of these concepts into your own rebranding?
Definitely, yeah. We have to lead by example. So rebranding Blended Collective has been a very intentional process. We just celebrated our 8-year anniversary for the company. And so in Brand Love, I write about the importance of blending the rational with emotional, like I said earlier. And that's exactly what we're doing in our rebrand. So on the rational side, we're clarifying our services, tightening up our positioning and making sure that our messaging is very simple and accessible. And on the emotional side, we're leaning into the feeling of connection, culture, creativity, and really making sure that across all customer touch points, people feel something. They're not just, booking us or hiring us to work with them, but they truly feel something beyond just what we do and really beyond just the look or the new logo. I think the rebrand is really for us about evolving and showing up in a way where people can feel what we're about. And this is exactly what I talk about in the book too. So again, just sort of taking these theoretical principles and bringing them to life through our company.
Brand Love in Action, How Emotions Win Hearts and Build Loyalty with Lydia Michael, an upcoming discussion on September 30th. Lydia, if people want to participate, where is it going to be happening? How can they get involved?
So it's taking place at the West Bloomfield Library. You can register via the oaklandthrive.org website. And for more information about us, you're welcome to visit blendedcollective.com and can find a copy of Brand Love on Amazon or anywhere books are available.
Registration, once again, oaklandthrive.org. Otherwise, you can follow Lydia and her team at Blended Collective on blendedcollective.com. Lydia, before we let you go, anything else that people should be thinking about in terms of brand love or this discussion coming up on September 30th as they await the big day?
Yeah, really just start thinking about how can you make sure that your brand and your organization is connecting with people at the core, that you're understanding who your customer is, why they're supporting you, and how you can continue to build that journey with them that leads to loyalty.
Well, Lydia, we appreciate you coming on, and certainly our small businesses appreciate this insight as they continue to try to be competitive on the local level and in the ever-competitive world online as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. More information on blendedcollective.com. That is the website, blendedcollective.com, where you can also get more information on her book, Brand Love. The presentation, September 30th at the West Bloomfield Library. Registration is on oaklandthrive.org, and you can also find more information and follow Lydia's team on social media, Instagram, and on LinkedIn at Blended Collective. The Future Connect Community Center at the West Bloomfield Town Hall Complex is one of the most anticipated amenities coming soon to Greater West Bloomfield. With a bond to support the project voted positively by the community just last August, not this particular August we just passed through, but August of 2024, work is currently underway to make a final plan before construction begins in the coming months, scheduled to begin just after the turn of the year in 2026. I had a chance to talk to West Bloomfield Parks Executive Director Kelly Heyer on the show recently to give an update on the project's progress as well as what to expect from the current plans for this brand new local community center. Kelly, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome. Good morning, Tyler.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to have you on the program with us. You gave an update to the Township Board recently about where the project is at for the community. I'm sure they're very excited a year later after voting through the bond to get an update on where we're looking at for the future of that massive Connect Community Center at the Civic Center complex. This is what was proposed at the time of the bond a year ago. A lot has changed since then. Where's the project at as we speak?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Tyler. But to simplify it, we are still in the planning design phase. So with any kind of construction project, those of you listening at home, maybe you're familiar with the residential update, but on the commercial level, there's a lot more behind the scenes that go into it. And so when the image that was just shown, that was our rendering created a couple years ago in order to prepare for the bond campaign, the public information that we wanted to share to the voters on what it could be. So after hiring and onboarding our architect firm, our engineer, our landscape architect, as well as our geotechnical engineer, our interior designer, low voltage, things are progressing, and we're able to make better informed decisions given the exact site placement of the building. So right now, it's August. We are in the middle of developmental design, and that means we've gone through concept design as well as schematic design. So the floor plans are settling down. We're focusing on the exterior facade, the materials, how do we break up the big building into smaller sections so it doesn't seem so big on this campus. And what we're talking about is a building that is over 46,000 square feet. So if you measure exterior wall, it is just over 48,000. But the first floor is under 28,000 square feet. And the first floor is bigger than the second floor. However, it encompasses the gymnasium, the welcome center, as well as the nature center on the first floor. And the second floor will be more multi-purpose space and where the staff is, as well as access to the track. So when you fit all those amenities in, and given the site that we have to work with on the campus, the building ended up being very long and linear. And so we've broken the building up into 3 different components. And so right now it is figuring out, all right, do we have the front entrance right? Do we have what we need for that faces the parking lot, that faces the woodland wetlands? And so making all of those decisions and making it so that it is, we have the ability to talk about it internally as staff and figure out operational and maintenance-wise, what is the best approach to these different sections. So there's a lot of discussions behind the scenes, Tyler, a lot of intentional meetings. We have a lot of different agendas, different of our consultants behind the scenes having those conversations every day. And then professionally, we report to the commission, staff does. And so then we take all of these decisions that staff is recommending to the commission level. Park Commission has conversation, discussion, approve what they need to. And then it's what you're referencing Monday night is Park Commission does report monthly to the Township Board on this project because it's a partnership. We have different authority that the Park Commission is allowed with statute, what we can decide ourselves and what we need to take to Township Board. And budget is definitely one thing. Statutorily, we need to report to the township. So that's a long-winded answer, but to very specifically, we are still settling in the design phase and making decisions that with our professionals that we've hired for this project.
And economically, that's the most sound thing to do because you want to make sure you have a pretty concrete plan come your January 2026 estimate for starting the construction phase of this project, especially where we're at in our economy with tariffs and with the supply chain still very much affecting the overall cost of this project and wanting to stay within budget. But Kelly, some of the concepts that were really critical to the design phase and continue to be in this design phase, respect for nature, biomimicry, community outreach, most importantly, being a good neighbor, those all kind of encompass themselves in some of the key changes to the plan that came into the most recent presentation at the August 11th Township Board meeting. Previously, it was conceptualized to maintain at least a portion, if not the entirety, of the current Recreation Activity Center in the plans for the future Connect Community Center. Now that's different. That building is currently under this plan going to be demolished, mostly to make space for the building to, again, fit that footprint on the Civic Center complex, but also, most importantly, to allow that footprint to be minimally effective on the nature surrounding that building. That was a really critical part and continues to be in your planning phase, correct?
Well said, Tyler. So if you want to show back that rendering or put the rendering back on the screen, on the green side, the west side of the site plan, we are taking down the building, so 3/4 of the building can be put back to nature. What we've noticed is this campus, we need a gathering space. And right now, for example, we have Food Truck Tuesdays that happen in between us and the library, but the food truck has to be parked in the parking lot, and it is not the best design for that. So we're making more intentional gathering space outside our building. And that's to celebrate nature. The trailhead is right there. Our outdoor natural area, play area will be expanded. And it's going to be a better user experience in nature. And we needed to put back more green space on the west side. So that is in the light green there that you can see. And then the other colors that are blacked out, you can see the 3 sections of the building. So the connected to nature makes most sense is the nature center. And on the second floor is staff. And then as you move east, the middle part of the building, that is where you would enter the welcome customer service, multi-purpose space. And then upstairs is senior lounge space, as well as our dedicated gaming room, lecture room, where the furniture can be card tables set up all day. And then the east side of the building, where it is the high school gymnasium, high school size, and that gets you bottom floor, where you can do pickleball, our larger group fitness classes, and then the elevated track will be directly above it. And so that is a big space. So if you look on the floor plans, the gymnasium, the track is 1/3 of the building. And so that's where a ton of square footage had to go in that direction. So that's just under 10,000 square feet itself on that right-hand east side of the building.
Yeah, a lot of recreation space still planned in this building. A lot of those original amenities that were proposed, that were discussed pre-bond and were ultimately agreed upon by the township's electorate, still going to be a factor in this. That's what most people on the day-to-day listening today, watching today, or in the future on CivicCenterTV.com want to know about. All these changes, of course, affect the space that these programs will ultimately be in. So what are we looking at right now in terms of where these plans are at, what's sort of been changed, and how those spaces for these amenities are being affected by some of these modifications in the plan at this stage of the process?
Right. So price has to drive much of our discussion. So as you heard in our budget update, both with the Park Commission and Township Board, consideration for tariffs and still putting in a good contingency. We are spending more than we anticipated within the bond dollars, so that warrants a discussion for the other projects we still want to accomplish. So with that said, we still aren't getting exactly everything we want. In fact, the question came up the other night, would you build a bigger building if you could? Absolutely, because we know the residents deserve all the public, multi-generational, recreational and leisure space indoors. But we've had to make some decisions. So we made a couple slices through the building, so it's still going to be very user-friendly. The square footages of the multi-purpose spaces are still great spaces, better than what we have right now. And so if you're at the Recreation Activity Center, that building, the entire building with staff is 8,400 square feet. So if you keep that into context, with the Nature Center that we currently have and the 2 multi-purpose rooms, we're doubling in the public space as far as square footage, plus adding the gymnasium. So we're still able to have group fitness, Tyler, the lectures, card gaming, the discovery days in the Nature Center, all of this. And it's going to be better spaces. So right now, unfortunately, you do look at the parking lots. It's very limited windows that we have both here at the Recreation Activity and the current Connect building that we rent at Simsbury. So we've been able to maintain those square footages. We had to reduce on storage, which goes against our principle in Parks and Recreation because we just don't like the clutter and the equipment and supplies sitting out. So we've made some really smart decisions how we can do that better. And then we've had to, again, minimize a couple square feet on some of the multi-purpose rooms, but we still maintained everything we promised, plus done better on our circulation in the hallways, the corridors. And we've done better on delivering the requested additional seating and lounge space, like the drop-in space that we heard through our stakeholder conversations that everybody did desire. So we're trying to listen to the residents, still incorporate their ideas and what's important to them. Our instructors are critical in this process, getting their buy-in. But all in all, we've been able to maintain all of those things that we've been able to adhere to. The other great thing is that our landscape architects we've hired have come up with some really creative spaces outside that the campus and our residents are going to be able to use. It's going to be really exciting. We're in the middle of our design development phase. So soon, and we were hoping by the end of the summer, we'll start showing some more of those renderings, all the sides of the building, including some interiors. So stay tuned. Civic Center TV, you'll be the first to know to help us roll out our public update on the building. But we've still got to go through the next couple of weeks and crunch down, make sure that we're getting this right. The rendering that you do see that you've used, that we used in the presentation, is from June. So we've made significant modifications to that. And again, it is based on stakeholder feedback. And we want the people using this building and the staff operating it to be really satisfied to be able to deliver the next 30 years on recreation and leisure services.
Yeah, you want to get this right. You're consolidating all of those different facilities that house staff for West Bloomfield Parks, of course, Connect Senior Center, all that recreation space and more to make this a great amenity centralized at the Civic Center complex. Kelly Heyer is with us, the Executive Director of West Bloomfield Parks, with updates on the Connect Community Center project currently underway right now. They're in the planning phase still, hoping in the coming weeks to have more of these plans locked down, start getting into the permit phase as we get into the fall. And the goal still by the turn of the year 2026 to begin construction on that project. Kelly, a couple more questions for you. It's really important in this also, and you mentioned it briefly earlier on, keeping in mind that this bond was not only for the Connect Community Center, but also for really important projects, kind of smaller projects in scope, but very, very, very important maintenance projects for going forward at some of our parks, including Marshbank. So how much of a factor does that also play, especially on the financial side, the planning side, to make this great extensive building, but not take away from the necessity to still do these other projects?
That's a great question. And to answer that, I want to touch back on the budget process for the building. And if those of you listening at home go back and listen to both Park Commission updates for July as well as the Township Board update I just gave in August, you'll hear me reference to 3 phases of the budget. So when it comes to this big community center project, we have budget check-in points after each phase of our design. So the next couple weeks, we'll be receiving the design set from our architects and engineers on the design development phase. And so we'll be working with our cost estimators to check in. Are we still on track with the estimated now at $24.5 million for the budget? And that still includes the contingencies. So then what happens to the other projects? Tyler, to your question, what is our approach there? And with Parks and Recreation, we are project managing all day long, whether it's events, all the enhancements that you've seen the last 55 years with West Bloomfield Parks. So we've, for example, you'll hear me reference when we built Lily Pad Springs. That was a budget that we had saved up for and a project that we knew we were funding internally with prior year funds as well as the taxpayer dollars that come in. And so that's the same approach that we tackle our capital improvement projects. And we have a 10-year plan that is a rolling plan where we take and look at the park system as a whole, figure out what is our deferred maintenance, what are the enhancements we want to add to, the amenities we add to, what kind of park property do we want to acquire, and all of that is into our CIP project discussion. So with the pickleball courts at Drake Sports Park, the Marshbank Park paving project, as well as the playgrounds we've talked to, the Marshbank paving was the first thing on the list, and we did commence that project August 1st. And the great news about that, when we went into this paving project, we knew it was a 3-year phase, and we had estimated $1 million for each phase. Going off of Drake Sports Park, we had just done that park. And we were really lucky on our bidders. The entire project will be $1.9 million. So it is under budget, and only a third of that project will be paid for by bond dollars. So at this time, there's little wiggle room for that, but we will be figuring out Drake Sports Park as well as the playgrounds in our CIP conversation in the next budget year. So for those residents, rest assured, West Bloomfield Parks, we continue to deliver amazing amenities, and we're really proud that our residents do support us. So there is not a big list of deferred maintenance, and we're able to tackle that. So more to come on that specifically, but we know about it early on and able to strategize with the park commissioners to make sure that our residents get the amenities that we have promised them.
And all the powers that be definitely also a factor in this planning process from the Parks and Recreation Commission. They're overseeing this. They're talking about this in their public meetings, including their televised monthly meetings. So, same goes with the West Bloomfield Township Board. If you want to see those presentations, civiccentertv.com in our on-demand section. The July 23rd West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation Commission meeting was their most recent presentation there. And then the Township Board, they did a presentation with the latest budget information and design information meeting. That's the August 11th meeting. Again, civiccentertv.com. We're joined by Kelly Heyer, Executive Director of West Bloomfield Parks. That's the update on the Connect Community Center. Kelly, thank you so much for your time today.
Great questions, Tyler. Happy to be on.
You can find more information on the West Bloomfield Parks Connect Community Center project on wbparks.org. They'll have updates over there, as well as more fun and events all throughout the fall season. You can also find that on wbparks.org. Trick shots, skillful aim, and pure skill are all on target in the heart of the lakes this weekend as Baxter Morgan Park becomes home to the Ace Race, a disc golf showdown where the aim is for a hole-in-one. Joining me now on the Splash for more information on the competition is Jake Steinbrecher from Driftwood Creek Disc Golf. Jake, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on as you're getting ready for this tournament competition of sorts at Baxter Morgan Park this weekend. Give us a little bit of insight on the Ace Race.
Sure thing. Yeah, so the an Ace Race event is kind of an introductory, a beginner event where, again, like you said, trick shots and ace runs are the key. So it's a fun event for all ages. We'll have lots of goodies and prizes. We'll have, obviously, Kego Harbor Parks and Rec will be there to welcome you. They're putting on this event for us. But Heiser Franchise LLC and Driftwood Creek Disc Golf, along with Play It Again Sports in Madison Heights, will have some discs for borrowing. So if anybody doesn't have a disc, that's no issue. We'll have plenty of discs to purchase and lots of prizes. So disc golf, of course, one of the things we've been trying to bring into Kego Harbor. And so, yeah, it's going to be a great time. We are Saturday, 9:45 until about 12:30.
And so you mentioned it's kind of something that's aimed at beginners, but the Ace Race itself, an ace is a hole-in-one. That's quite the big accomplishment for someone just starting in disc golf or in any sport altogether.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the hole-in-one, of course, is what everybody's after, right? We want to get it in as few shots as possible. So disc golf is no different than any other golf. So the Ace Race at Baxter Morgan is unique because Baxter Morgan is intentionally set up as a pitch putt ace style course. So it is super beginner friendly. The distances are minimal as opposed to some of the bigger courses in the area.
And so Baxter Morgan Park being the home for this event with Driftwood Creek Disc Golf, part of that is because you designed this with Kego Harbor Parks and Rec as a beginner course, something that can be used recreationally by people of all different ages and skill levels in Kego Harbor and surrounding areas. And so now that we're about a year or so into this park being open and active in Kego Harbor, how have people responded to having this new amenity in their local park?
Great question. Yeah, I've received nothing but rave reviews personally. I believe the parks is the same. I haven't had too many conversations, but as far as the course itself and its playability and its accessibility, everybody is absolutely in love. So it's perfect for those quick, lunch break rounds or quick Saturday morning round with the kid and the dog. It's perfect for those trying to get into the sport, just to kind of, work on, those finer details as far as consistency and accuracy and all that kind of stuff. And so, it's been received wonderfully, and I can't be happier.
And it's not just an event for people to go out and have some fun out in the park this fall, maybe learn a new skill, play a new game, get to meet some people in the community. There's also a charitable aspect to this, as donations will be collected for the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Why this charity for this event? Why is this an important connection for you and your team?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Paul Macbeth Foundation We'll have a QR code for any welcome donations. The event is free, however, so I want to make sure that that's clear. Anyone is welcome to come. The donations are going to be collected, above and beyond that. So the Paul Macbeth Foundation, however, Paul Macbeth, of course, one of the greatest players in our sport of disc golf, created a foundation essentially to bring the sport to areas where it's not, or areas that are less well off. So, some of those areas that might not be able to themselves provide an opportunity to check it out. So, always doing great things. You can find them on, I think it's the paulmacbethfoundation.org, but if you search it, you'll be able to find it. Sorry, I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, it is paulmacbethfoundation.org for more information on the charity and for more information on the event happening Saturday morning at Baxter Morgan Park in Keagle Harbor. That's facebook.com/KHParks. Jake Steinbrecher is with us, the owner of Driftwood Creek Disc Golf on the Splash Live today. They'll be having their first ace race at Baxter Morgan Park on Saturday morning in Keagle Harbor on their par 22 course out at Baxter Morgan Park. Jake, looking beyond this, how much do you want, as in terms of your organization, how much of a goal is it for you to not only be someone that helps to bring disc golf to communities like Keagle Harbor, but to expand the sport through connection with the community? How important of a factor is that in the work that you do every day?
Well, I mean, that's always the number one priority, I would say. Introducing new players, young players, even seniors, to kind of get out, move a little bit, walk the course. And, it really doesn't matter how far you can throw a disc. If you go to Baxter Morgan, you're going to have a good time either way. So we're always looking to introduce new players. We're always looking to, just kind of get together with the community. In fact, Heiser Franchise LLC has offered to donate a disc to each and every player that attends on Saturday from Keagle Harbor. So again, the community is very important to us. We want to get them started, get them off on the right foot, show them what it's all about. And anybody coming from Keagle, you can look forward to a free disc.
Going to be a fun day at the free ace race out at Keagle Harbor's Baxter Morgan Park Saturday morning in the heart of the lakes. Jake, before we let you go, just one more time, give people the information on the when of this event on Saturday.
Perfect. Yeah. So Saturday, September 20th, we'll start the check-in process around 8 a.m. We do have a players meeting scheduled for 9:45 a.m. So from 8 until about 9:45, we'll be taking, walk-ups, check-ins, any registrations. We'll have lots of discs and things and lots of information for you there. At 9:05, then we'll go over the event specifics, and we'll start around 10 o'clock, and we should be done. My estimate is 12:30 p.m.
So get some disc golf in the morning, and then you can move on to your college football and other activities throughout the rest of your Saturday. Jake, thank you so much for your time once again today.
No problem, Tyler. Thank you.
Appreciate it. More information on the free ace race and other events through Keagle Harbor Parks and Rec can be found on their Facebook page at KH Park. This event is at Baxter Morgan Park, just east off of Orchard Lake before the bend in Keagle Harbor. You can find information on that once again on Facebook at KH Parks. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. On the other side, how you can learn some skills that could potentially be life-saving at home, at work, and throughout the community. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent, West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be 1 in a million.
be late to your own party. Hurry up! Hurry up! Ah! Do not cut me off. It's her fault? Her fault? Ah! You kidding me? Honk, honk, honk!
Honk, honk, honk!
Honk, honk! Late! Out of my way! Honk! I hate construction!
You should have slowed down.
My party.
You wouldn't act this way in a store, so don't act this way on the road. Driving slower saves lives.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on civiccentertv.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at civiccentertv.com and click schedule at the top of the screen. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Live, local, social, welcome back to the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft, thanking you for joining us and for always following along with our programming and our special announcements on civiccentertv.com, as well as across our social media, all places you'll be able to find us for our special broadcast on Sunday afternoon, live from the West Bloomfield Fire Department Open House at Fire Station Number 1, where we will be highlighting emergency preparedness communications right here in Greater West Bloomfield. On that note, when a medical emergency suddenly puts life or death into question, will you know what to do in those precious moments before first responders can arrive? That's made much easier with the help of our local firefighters and paramedics who provide first aid and CPR training to keep people like you prepared for any emergency. I was recently joined by Captain Blake Belsky from the West Bloomfield Fire Department, who told me more about why we should all learn CPR, as well as how you can get trained right here in Greater West Bloomfield, close to home. Captain Belsky, thank you for being on the show today.
Good morning, Tyler. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, happy to have you back, especially for a topic like this as we get into the school year, as we get into the fall and people are out and about for fall events, and there's all the stress of the holidays that come up eventually. There's a lot of different risk factors that could put people's lives at risk and be in need of someone being able to administer CPR or use an AED. So for the average citizen in West Bloomfield, why should they get trained from our local fire department or another organization in CPR and in first aid?
Well, cardiac arrest is one of those factors that is able to ignore age. It's able to ignore income. It doesn't matter where you live, where you came from, or who you hang out with. Everyone is at risk eventually for sudden cardiac arrest, and to reduce the likelihood of that being a fatal incident, if somebody is able to provide CPR and use an AED within seconds of you experiencing that cardiac arrest, that significantly increases your likelihood for survival.
And so when people undergo this training, what are some of the things that they learn that can really be helpful, not only when they complete the training, but even in the event that they experience some sort of sudden cardiac arrest or another emergency while they're in that training proper?
Well, one of the things that we tell people in the first 5 minutes of this training is that the folks that work for the fire department and the police department, they're out there and they've certainly done their fair share of CPR in their careers. We've never seen it work unless somebody is doing CPR when we arrive. Sometimes that's at a nursing home where you've got a medical professional providing CPR. Sometimes it's at somebody's house during a holiday dinner. Somebody experienced cardiac arrest and somebody who had training was able to come in, start doing compressions, maybe start some rescue breathing, and give that person a fighting chance to get a heartbeat back by the time we arrive and are able to take over. We do a lot of CPR. We can't do it successfully without the help of the community, though, and that's why this training is so valuable.
And so for people that may be interested, they want to get CPR trained, they want to update their training and maybe get recertified, how do they go about that with the West Bloomfield Fire Department?
So the West Bloomfield Fire Department is a regional training center for the American Heart Association. We offer certification classes every other month on the first Monday of the month in the evenings, trying to accommodate those work schedules. Our next class is on, it looks like October 6th. Then we have another one scheduled for December 1st at 6 p.m. both days. And if you're interested, it's a $35 charge, and that covers the cost of the book and the cost of the certification card from the American Heart Association. I would love for everyone who's interested to call our office at 248-409-1505. Our AHA guru, Amy, will be able to get everything scheduled. There is one little hitch. We still only accept cash payments for these classes. It's just a way that we're able to process this quickly and efficiently. But if you're interested in a class that's not scheduled, we love to come in, and we can do these classes for church groups. We can do them for neighborhood associations. Give us a call at that phone number, and we'd be happy to schedule anything that works best for your group and your schedule.
And you made this important point earlier, kind of are now touching on it again. All these different groups, they all need to have some sort of training like this, at least somebody in that group in the event of an emergency, but also that comes back to CPR, first aid, even AED training, being something that can be done for all ages. It's not something that's limited to just adults. That's also a really important thing for people to consider, especially with their kids back in school.
Absolutely. The AHA does not put a limit on how old you have to be to get the certification. If you're interested in just learning hands-only CPR, that is I can teach you hands-only CPR in about 30 seconds. And I appreciate you mentioned the change in the date for the Fire Department Open House. We will have a hands-only CPR station where we will teach you how to do compressions. As soon as you see someone fall down and you don't notice a pulse, you can do something immediately and learn it quickly and move on with the rest of your day. Get some cider and donuts at the open house. We've got some fantastic community partners at the high school. Mrs. Zanotti and Mrs. Danton do a great job with their CPR program. They're affiliated with our training center. The student Matilda Edwardson has done a really fantastic job with her WB Has Heart program, getting CPR education out to her peers at the high school. It's been really fantastic to work with everyone over there.
And to see their interest, too, in this, because it's become more of a reality that this doesn't have an age limit to it. We're not going to see sudden cardiac arrest just in mostly elderly patients or those that have some common physical risk factors that really can be something that affects people of all different ages. And so for you on the first responders side, to see that sort of interest from especially young people in the community, how does that give you and your peers confidence, especially as you're going out on these emergency calls and are being called in for life-saving service where, as you said, those opening moments can be really critical?
Absolutely. We've been very fortunate in West Bloomfield to have the support of the community when it comes to a reliable tax base or people coming out and seeing what their tax dollars are paying for at the open house. But that support goes so much further than just making sure that you're up to date on your taxes. To support your community by learning CPR, to save the people who live next door, save the people that live in your house, shop at your grocery stores. It's really wonderful for us to see because, we've only got so many tools, and it's going to take us from the time somebody calls 911 to the time our crews can arrive. It could be 5-7 minutes from phone call to arrival on scene. And that 5 to 7 minutes is a long time for your body to go without a heartbeat. So the sooner somebody is able to jump in there, it certainly makes our job a lot easier. And there's really nothing better than doing CPR on somebody and feeling that pulse come back, seeing a blood pressure, and maybe 2-3 weeks down the road, seeing that patient walk out of the hospital. It really is a wonderful thing, and it makes everyone on our crew smile.
You can follow the West Bloomfield Fire Department on Facebook at WB Fire Department. You can also visit their website on the West Bloomfield Township website, wbtownship.org, for more information. Joining us from the West Bloomfield Fire Department is Captain and EMS Coordinator Blake Belsky as we consider CPR and first aid training for people across the community. Captain, the training is really helpful. It gives people that full picture of how to potentially save lives or maintain lives before those first responders get to the scene in the event of an emergency. But for those that are at home or at work or anywhere around the community watching and listening to this today that haven't undergone that training or are awaiting that, what are some things that they can know, that they should know now, that can really help in their own providing of first aid right in this moment if something happened today before our West Bloomfield Fire Department arrives on scene?
Sure, and a lot of people, even with that, the knowledge and the skill set after they get the training, it's a big ask to ask somebody to intervene. Early identification. We love prevention, but we love early identification. If you see somebody collapse, go up and see if they're okay. And if they're not okay, whether they're breathing or they're not breathing or they're choking or you can feel a pulse, you can't feel a pulse, the next step after you've identified that something is wrong is call for help. Call 911, get these crews on the road. Our police officers are constantly patrolling. Sometimes they're able to arrive even before the fire department on these cardiac arrest issues. And they've got AEDs in their car. They've got CPR certification as well, and they can get things moving along sometimes before our fire department crews arrive with their advanced equipment. Figuring out that something happened that shouldn't have happened and then calling for help. Those are the biggest things we can do if you don't have the skills or the comfort really to start providing those interventions yourself.
And just one more time for us, you did mention in passing earlier on in our conversation today, those opening moments, you see somebody collapse. You've identified that someone maybe is having a cardiac arrest or other emergency incident. Those first 30 seconds, first couple of minutes, just how vital are those and the response from the people around those individuals in a matter of life and death?
I mean, every second counts, Tyler. We can compare it to holding your breath. When somebody stops breathing, they're not breathing. Try holding your breath for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes until the fire department is able to arrive and start breathing for you. It usually doesn't work out well for the person that's trying to hold their breath that long. If you can't breathe, the sooner somebody's able to start breathing for you, the better your outcome will be.
All the more reason to undergo some of this training from our friends over at the West Bloomfield Fire Department. CPR, first aid, AED training, all through the West Bloomfield Fire Department, or they can point you in the direction of other local organizations that can also help you with that vital training. Captain Belsky, thank you as always for your time.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate you having me.
More information on West Bloomfield Fire Department CPR and AED training, as well as their open house this weekend, can be found on Facebook at WB Fire Department. That's our show. I want to remind you that television that's close to home is always online on CivicCenterTV.com and across our social media. Big thank you to our entire crew at Master Control for making this show possible today, and to you as well for joining in. For our entire team, I'm Tyler Kieft. Live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.